Howdy, happy Wednesday. How's everybody doing? So I'm going to cover the housekeeping here real quick. We're going to talk about selling in 2024 and not just opinions or theories or what Apollo thinks. We're going to look at the data, what's working. I'm going to show you that. And then I'm going to go taking that data. We're going to go build what's working in Apollo. And my ask today is that, and maybe you could get this set up. And if you have two screens, set it up on another screen, but log in with me and do it with me at the same time. So today we're going to cover how to book more meetings, 30% at the very least. And of course, this is a webinar hosted and sponsored by the world's only end-to-end sales engine, Apollo. Who am I? James O'Sullivan, Apollo Academy. It says professor. I'm actually an instructor, so I feel like a fraud having that up there. Recovering sales leader. I love sales. I've been in sales for 17 years. So today's webinar is for people who you already know how to do the basics in Apollo. We have a ton of users that are really good at searching for leads. And maybe you're using sequences for your auto emails. And that worked for you before, and maybe it worked really well, but you're still not booking enough meetings today, or you'd like to be booking more. And so what we're going to cover today is how to book more meetings, how to unlock more meetings from the same leads. So you don't need to change anything with your leads. You're just going to extract more value from those leads by doing some things differently. And I think it's never been more important, right? And I'm looking at some of the numbers that people are posting. Are people having more difficulty this year? I called a whole bunch of my friends, and I think everybody's kind of going through something where, hey, 2024 is starting off a little challenging. And last year was challenging for a lot of folks too. So you look at some of the reasons why it's harder to get replies, right? So the average, this might be different depending on what you're selling, what your industry is, but the average reply across the board is a lot worse. And it's just getting harder to get into the inbox, right? 49% of all emails now identified as spam. And if you were in our email deliverability webinar last month, we covered those new guidelines from Google and Yahoo. And I know I think we all saw how many posts there were on Reddit or LinkedIn about, is cold email dead? Is this going away? A lot of people were really freaked out. I was too, because that was always the foundation of, a lot of my cold outreach. But I don't expect that they're going to get any more lenient. I don't think they're ever going to say, you know what, we want to make it easier for salespeople to do email blasts. I think they're going to continue to be more restrictive, because every time they make changes, people have found ways around it to a certain degree. And eventually that arbitrage opportunity, I think we're going to see. You can't just win by shooting out 1,000 emails. So 70% of sales reps are saying it's harder to sell now than last year. That number was about the same the year before that too. And when I was looking at some of the most recent surveys and research data, quota attainment last year, 2023, was down 10 points from the year before. That's how many salespeople are hitting their number, right? And I found a report of, we're 2.5 months into 2024. We don't know for sure, but it's expected to get worse. When you look at salespeople answering survey questions on their own saying, do you think you're going to hit it? It's expected to get worse. I didn't put the number here because it's almost too scary, but only 17% of salespeople think they're going to hit their number in 2024. That's not good. And I want everybody in here to feel a lot better about it. And I think you will. So if there's ever a time to upgrade your sales process, right now would be that time. If you haven't done it yet, now's the time. Let's do it together. And in fact, there was a great sales leader I worked for one time that said, always have 3 plan A's. His name was John Smith. And I think he's the CEO or chief sales officer at a company called Workwell now. He said, have 3 plan A's going into the year, 3 different plans that could get you to quota. Today, we're going to give you one that's data backed, and it could be another one of your plan A's, right? It could be you doing what you're doing now, and then you're going to do this. So what does the data say about booking meetings? This might seem obvious, but the data says follow up and diversify. And that's kind of getting back to basics, right? Before you could even do email spams or easily get my first sales job, I got a phone book. I had to follow up because I put all this effort just to even get the lead the first time. And I was diversifying because you never know which way you're going to get in touch with somebody. So when we look at all Apollo users, we take the data and just see who's having success. And a lot of people like that gift. You'll have to thank Janet for that. She was the one who put that in there, the Schitt's Creek one. But when you look at the data, who's booking meetings? Who's having success at the base layer of sales, just trying to get in contact with somebody and booking some meetings? There's a lot of users of Apollo who are like me. The first time I had Apollo was at Uber. I had never had anything like that before. I was using it to get leads and putting them into Excel and working at I still have the Excel. Every lead I ever worked and everything I do with them is tracked in there. And I have a 5 gig OneNote. People are getting their leads and doing things onesie twosie on their own. The guy next to me would have 50 reminders in this. Anybody do the calendar invite that you just keep moving every single day? Thank you, Isabella. Where there's all these different things to do. That's really tough to do your best, right? You're putting a lot of your energy into just managing your follow-ups and trying to keep track of things. The people doing better than that are the folks that are getting their leads in Apollo and then using sequences to do their emails. Now, these are folks just doing sequences with automated emails, but they're keeping it organized. And there's probably tiers to doing automated emails. The people who put 1,000 people in one sequence and have this one generic email going out. And then there's other folks that are saying, I'm going to group leads together by relevance, and they're probably doing a little bit better, right? But the top 1%, the people booking more meetings than anybody, they're using this, they're getting their leads in Apollo, they're putting them into sequences, and they're diversifying, and they're doing great follow-up, 4 or 5 follow-ups, right? And they're using automated emails still, but they're doing manual emails and personalized stuff. They're making cold calls. They're doing LinkedIn tasks, touches, and they're doing tasks, which if you haven't used that or you're not sure what that is, I'm going to show you in just a minute. So the goal of today is we're going to do it together. If you'll indulge me, open Apollo up. If you got 2 screens, put me on one, put your Apollo on the other. Download that resource kit right now so you don't have to wait to feel like you know how to do this. If you can get it done in this webinar, as opposed to having to think about it later, you're going to say, I know how to do this. You're going to be thinking of ideas later on while you're doing something else of what leads you want to do that with or new ideas that are good for your business. We're going to move to the right today. So wherever you're at here, if you're doing email blasts, we're going to move to the right to at least automated emails with sequences, right? If you're doing some manual emails or some personalization, let's get you doing calls or LinkedIn tasks. You don't need to do everything, but I think if you get comfortable with everything, then you're providing yourself not only a better chance of booking those meetings, but feeling comfortable with your selling skills, no matter what happens in the future. If cold email goes away, like we were worried about 6 months ago, I'm still going to be okay. So, and I saw a couple of people saying, that's going to be kind of tough. I've got a lot of leads or it's heavily transactional. You don't need to do it for all of them, right? The nice thing about when you have these sequences and things are organized, and one of my favorite things about Apollo is all the filtering capabilities, not just for search, but all my saved contacts. Maybe you start with your VIP leads, your Glengarry leads, right? Or the ones that you know are perfect. Because when you're organized, there are some leads you want to do everything possible. Today, we're going to start that where you're going to know, hey, what's everything in my toolkit? If I got a lead where I would do anything to get that meeting, you're going to know what you can be doing. You're already going to have one set up with me. So this is what we're going to do in Apollo together today. We're going to add all these steps that the top 1% are using. And I want to make it really easy to do that for you, because in that resource kit, we've got anything that might be missing for you. So we're going to add a manual email. We're going to do a phone call, an action item. We're going to put some LinkedIn in there. Now that first step is going to be the phone call. I think this is the one where people have the most anxiety, right? Are there anybody here that's not currently doing any cold calls, but used to? I made some calls on this. I want to see how people respond. And there's some folks that I'm friends with, I worked with many years ago, and they got away from cold calls. And one of them said that he felt like he got so lazy on it. He's so nervous to get back into it because he gave it up for so long. It doesn't matter. You don't need to be good. You just got to start doing it. I went and looked at my notes. My first big deal I ever closed a career builder, I forgot to say my name or where I worked. And I had a screenshot of an old email making fun of me for that, for my boss. That ended up still closing. As long as you're polite, you got energy, you're trying to help that company, you'll be fine, and you're going to get better every single time. We got a script for you in the resource kit. We're going to put it in there. And we're going to leave voicemails too. That's an easy, free touch. We're going to put the LinkedIn steps in there, a connection request. We're going to interact with the content. And if you haven't used the Apollo Chrome extension, that you're going to love the way that how simple this is, as well as how this sets up the next step, which is our manual email. Now we're going to personalize that. There's a wonderful framework. If you haven't watched that masterclass that Apollo just did, I wish I wasn't part of making it. I wish I was, because it's probably the best sales masterclass I've ever seen. It's about how to write a personalized cold email with Samantha McKenna. It's wonderful. If you're a sales leader, it's a free, easy course you could give to your team, because there really isn't a lot of great content out there about how to personalize emails and get a high reply rate. Her reply rate is absurd. And she backs it up. I actually know somebody who used to work for her when she was in leadership at LinkedIn. She's really good. We're also going to add a broken variable so that we can personalize it. We'll remind ourselves, but nothing's going out where we haven't personalized it or left anything in there that's messy, right? And then the last step we're going to add is dealer's choice. video message, handwritten note, voice note, GIF, whatever you want. I've got a whole bunch of options we're going to get to when we get to that part. I'm big on handwritten notes. It's an easy habit to start. I used to do 5 a day. The year I was salesperson of the year, I was in the 400 or 500 handwritten notes. And again, I didn't have Apollo there, so it's all tracked in Excel. It's nice and easy when you got it as a task here. You're only doing it for the ones that you really want to do it for. So we're going to go do this in Apollo now. If you can, again, open your Apollo, get it open on another screen. I'm going to go into mine right now, and we're going to do this together. So we're in our Apollo. We're doing this together, right? So we know how to do our search. We've done sequences before, but we're going to go in and we're going to make a new one where we're going to add all those steps we just talked about, okay? So I'm going to do this from scratch. It's nice and simple. Again, do it with me. I'm going to hit from scratch, and I'm just going to call this one VIP leads, because I think the easiest way to get started with adding all these touches is with the VIP leads. And if you're anxious at all, there's any discomfort because you're out of practice or haven't done any of these before, then maybe throw in 50 of your mid-tier leads. Just all you want to do is get started, right? I'm going to start with my VIP leads. And the first thing we're going to add is that phone call. So I'm going to click it right here. And you'll see everything's the same as with your automated emails, right? When is it going to start? Immediately, 30 minutes, a day after the last task. I'm going to mark this high priority. And the real thing you want to focus on here is putting in your script. So actually, let me change how I'm sharing my screen so I can show this to you. You could copy along perfectly. Here we go. So you should be right here in yours. And then go to that resource kit. You're going to scroll down and you're going to see we got a call script for you all lined up. Now, if you like this, if you have one from your company, one you've used before, pop it in there. If you don't, or you're not used to making cold calls, this is a great one. And in fact, we're going to have a link in there to perfecting the cold call, where this script comes from, if you want some additional training or help on that. So I'm going to copy that script and I'm going to bring it over to my phone step. You'll notice that it says add a note. This is actually where you can put your script. You can put the dynamic variables in here. I like to dummy proof things. I want as much of my energy and emotional energy going into those calls, and they can be, I get a little bit nervous for some of them, especially if it's an executive at a big company or something. So I'm going to have the variables in here. So it says their name, their company. You're just going to have to customize it for your company. So, you know, what you're selling, what you know that I couldn't know about it. So again, you can throw your snippets in there, your variables. Now you got your script and you're ready to go. The only other thing I'm going to ask you to do, and the only reason I'm saying this is because I've seen a lot of arguments against it, is pop in a voicemail script. Or if you don't need it, fine. But if you do, I'm going to put it in there. I think the voicemail it's one of the easiest. It's like a freebie in sales. And why cold calling is I think it's so great is that most people don't pick up. When you leave a voicemail, it humanizes you, and you can reference back to the first email you sent. Again, that biggest deal I ever sold at Uber, it took 7 touches. The guy never got back to me once. It was on a day I left a voicemail referencing back to my first email that he finally read it, replied to it. Not to me. He CC'd somebody else and said, work with this guy. And that was the biggest deal of my career. And it only happened because I left a voicemail that day. So I'm going to encourage you to put the voicemail script in there and leave those. I'm going to hit continue. We got our phone call in there. If there's any question, I think it does it, Edie. And it's a low cost to using a voicemail, right? It just, you don't want it to be long anyways. The longer it is, the less effective it is. If you just leave a 15-second voicemail, it humanizes you. Obviously, tone is important. Sound confident, sound intentional, and reference back to the email. And it's kind of like the subject line where you're teasing what's in the email. The voicemail shouldn't give enough details so that they can judge and say yes or no. So again, it should be nice and short. And if you have any questions at this point, I don't think there could be too many, at least on getting this set up in here, but pop them in the chat. I'm going to check that in 1 second. So the next step we're going to add, we're going to start putting these LinkedIn ones. Has anybody used the LinkedIn task with the Chrome extension yet? If not, I think my guess is a lot of people haven't. You're really going to love this. So I'm going to put in a connection request. Again, whenever you want this to happen after you're doing this, a lot of you are doing the LinkedIn work. I know I've been on multiple sales floors. We're all sending LinkedIn connection requests, and most of the time it's disorganized. So you're sending less of them than you might want to. or it's taking longer, you got to think about it, go to your list or a pad of paper and go over there and do it. So I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to make it high priority. Now, the difference on the LinkedIn connection request is it says add a note. That's just for putting notes in there, because when you go to the next screen, you can actually put in the message you want to send. And just like with manual emails in here, you can load a template, use dynamic variables, add your snippets. And if you're using Apollo meetings for those easy little meeting links, giving people access to your calendar, you could pop it right in here as well. So if you want to have a message, pop it in here. I usually don't use a message. Sometimes I will. Like at Uber, I had 3 or 4 different versions in a OneNote. I'd copy and paste them and personalize a little bit more. So you could just go, hi, first name, yada, 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 whatever you want. Save it as a template if you want to use it again. Title it right here, and we're good to go. Again, I don't tend to put in a message, so I'm not going to save that there. Now, again, we don't want to pitch slap. Have you been getting LinkedIn connection requests where as soon as you accept it, I'm assuming it's a bot, they're sending you a pitch right away or some sort of scammy thing? Nobody likes that. It just turns people off. It's a great way to warm people up to what you're doing on the phone and email, though, right? I've never personally closed anything because of something I wrote in a connection request or an immediate follow-up message. If somebody is, maybe they're doing something different than I've ever seen. And the next step towards warming up your prospects is even better. This is what I've never done. I've only learned about this from somebody at Apollo who learned about it from it working on them. So we're going to add a LinkedIn interaction, interacting with their post or their content. Now on the priorities, I'm going to mark these mostly as high priority because these are my VIP leads. You'll know what makes sense here. Obviously, I prioritize my emails and my phone calls higher versus interactions, but I do think this is one of those things that provides a big bang for the buck. Has anybody been doing this with interacting with their high value prospects content? And the reason I say that is that you remember when somebody interacts with your stuff. Just think about when somebody you don't know likes one of your posts or comment on it. How often do you click and go see who that person is? And that happened to my boss here at Apollo. And when he talked to the person, he said, oh, that's something he does. Now, when we go run this, I'll give you some tips on how to do that. Obviously, we want to be authentic and sincere. You don't want to just go through and like every single post, though maybe potentially that works, right? The next one we're going to do is a manual email. Now, on this one, the resource kit is going to help you as well. Anybody having any problems at this point? So the last one we're going to do here is a manual email. Now, if you haven't watched that masterclass yet, you haven't stole some of the ideas from that framework there, that's okay. We're going to pop it in. And again, let's go to that resource kit, because in the resource kit, we've got some of the tips from that masterclass as well as a link to it. Again, I think you want to check that out. It's wonderful. But we've also got an example email that mimics that framework, that gives you a sense of why it works so well. And then you've got the template. So I'm going to copy this template. Again, if you don't mind doing this with me, just so you're, today, this afternoon, you're pretty much all the way there. Now you'll notice when I copied this in, there's some red on the side. You may not have ever seen that before. Those are called broken variables. It's a way of putting in a template for your manual emails. So a lot of the work's already done, but it's not all done, right? So the 2 things you're going to have to update here, one of them you can do now. This is an example about somebody at Coupons to Go. Obviously, one of my favorite companies. I'm a big coupon guy. But you're going to have to update the value prop and what you want to talk about right here. So I've actually built one of these just to show you. I used that resource kit template. I updated it for my company. And I put that detail in there. But you're still going to keep that broken variable in there for personalized intro. That way, you can't send something without it. You'll be reminded when Apollo sees a variable like this that doesn't make sense, it won't send the email. So if you accidentally mark it to schedule for some time later, or as an automatic email, it won't go out. And that's your reminder that, hey, I've got 80% of this done. I just need to have something to personalize this, and then I could send it. So if I don't have it, then I got to go find it. I could skip the task or delay it then. So we've got this in here. We're using the Show Me You Know Me from that new masterclass. Let's save that. Any questions so far? Can you zoom into broken email parts? Yeah, let me try to do that. That's a good question. So I'm going to copy the original template. If people aren't able to see this very good, I'm going to copy it back in just so you can see. And if you're doing this at the same time, you'll see this yourself. Let's see, can I zoom in here? So you'll see this is on the right side. When you pop in anything, you can see what it's going to look like. So this is the part you're going to have to fill in. And the up here is where you're going to leave that broken variable in so that it doesn't ever send out until you add that personalization. You're welcome. So let's go back. So now we've got a phone call. We've got our script in there in a voicemail script. We've got our send connection request, interact with post. We got our manual email. Now the last one, I think this is the fun one. We're going to add an action item. If you haven't used this before, this is where you could put something in where it's not tracked digitally, or it's not integrated, or it's something that might be weird or whatever, right? Like I did a lot of handwritten notes to the point I went to Brooks Brothers and I got custom letterhead, right? I started doing a lot of video messages, and I'll have a couple examples to show you here. Everything from sending it in, I was uncomfortable sending text messages to people I had never sold or met with, but I found sometimes people got upset about that or were turned off, but I started sending video messages in text, and I never had anybody upset. And in fact, I got a screenshot of the last time I did it. People seem to be delighted about it. And I don't think they were ever getting that from somebody else. I'm going to mark that as a high priority. Is anybody doing that, by the way? Sending video messages and text? I've talked to a lot of companies, and there's a lot of people uncomfortable just with calling mobile. They certainly probably weren't sending a video message and text, but it's really worked for me. Another great idea for that. Well, I'll show that to you later. So I'm going to do a handwritten note. I'm a little old fashioned, and I've always found that, especially with executives. I think sometimes they just wanted to call me back because they appreciated the hustle or that I was doing something like that. And of course, it's just nice to do, especially with all your active customers too, right? And a couple questions on where to record it. I'll show you how I'm doing it here. Just 1 second when I'm going through here. I normally just do them on my phone. The iPhone camera is better usually than my laptop one. So we've got all of our steps in here. Has everybody been able to follow along? Because if you do, and you're copying again from the resource kit, now you've got all these new steps. You know how to do them. A couple of them you got to personalize a little bit for your company, right? But we're good to go. So now, how does this look like in execution? Because I want you to be ready to rock and roll today, just having to add a couple details. So I made a lookalike one called Glengarry Glen Ross leads. Again, these are my VIP leads. And I threw a contact in there so that I could go through this with you. And sending the handwritten note, that's a great question, because I did move away from the handwritten note briefly because a lot of people weren't in the office anymore. And I reached out to companies like Goody or Eric Kostelnick, the founder over at Postal. They're doing really interesting things with sending gifts or letters or just anything physical, right? And at the time, they were doing some interesting things there about giving people something digitally that would then be sent to their home where the salesperson doesn't know their address, right? But now there's a lot of people back in the office, especially with executives. And an easy way to do that is I just call the HQ number and just ask them, hey, would executives be coming in the office if I want to send a gift? And a lot of times they just say, yeah, or no. So if you've got yours set up and you want to put a contact in there just to go through this with me, great. If you're not sure who you want to put in here yet, that's fine too. But remember, until it's active, nothing's going to happen. If you're nervous about something happening when you're putting them in here, you can start turning steps off, right? So I'm going to turn everything on. I moved one of my Glengarry VIP leads in here. I've activated it. So now my tasks are starting to queue up. So that first one is a call to this individual, Matt, who's, I believe, the chief customer officer or chief sales officer at this company called Blue Crew. If you're on the Apollo Pro plan, you can dial from right within your Apollo, right? And I think with the custom plan, you have the advanced dialer where you get all the features of that too. If you don't have that, and I won't get into it, I don't think I have time to get into it, but you just click into the task. You're going to see your scripts right there, right? If you dial the other way from your task, you'll see it pop up and it'll be personalized. I like to do it this way just because I have all my notes here. I have all the other details. And again, a lot of people don't necessarily use the insights here, but at different jobs I've had, it actually covers a lot of the stuff I'd be looking for. So I'm going to call from here. Very simple. You do it through Apollo or you do it through your other platform. And of course, at the end of that, I'm going to log it down. because and this is true, you're more likely you'll do more activity if you know the last time you touched one of your leads. So people are less likely to make a phone call to somebody if they can't remember the last time they called that person. They want to think about it for a second. So I like to mark down everything I've done. I'm going to leave that voicemail. I'm going to log that call, right? And now we're going to go to that next task. Let me go back to my sequences. It should be popping up here in a second. The fun thing about doing something live. There we go. So now it's cycled over to my next task, right? Connect with Matt Lorenz. Now I'm going to grab, if you don't have this, I'm going to grab the link right now. I'm going to post it to the chat. This is the Apollo Chrome extension. So that should be working as a link. Yes, it is. Let me pin it to the top as well. So go grab that real quick. So if you're following along, you can do this with me. It's a wonderful Chrome extension. I'm not like an expert on it, but it has a lot of reviews, great ratings. It looks like Google made it one of the featured Chrome extensions right now. And it really makes prospecting really great, or researching leads really great, but it also makes executing these LinkedIn tasks great. So you can do it right from there. Again, I like to go through here and I can hit execute task. Either way, though, you'll notice with the Chrome extension, it takes you directly to that person's page and it sends the connection request. You'll see it right down here if it worked or not, if there's a problem. Mine worked. And again, if you put that template in there with the variables, it's sending that message and customizing it to that individual. Now, I've been doing some webinars on parts of this on the last few days this week. And one of the things that people brought up is that in your sequences with your tasks, you can set, click multiple tasks and execute them with LinkedIn. I do them one at a time just because, just like Google and Yahoo with emails, LinkedIn doesn't want to see people sending 100 connection requests in 30 seconds, right? They're looking at the data to see that it's people doing things and not spam. So I like to do them one at a time. I have done it 2, 3 at a time. I've never had a problem, but I have a buddy who got a 24-hour timeout because of, he says it wasn't that many. My guess is he was connecting at 25, 50 a pop using Apollo. So the next one, it's going to seem simple, but this is really important task. And it pays off in other activities you're going to do. So the next one is just interact with content. Now, this is something that most people aren't doing. It's an easy way for you to differentiate yourself. Again, I'm going through all of them right now at once. I normally wouldn't. I'd probably freak somebody out if I'm calling them, emailing them, interacting with their post, and sending a handwritten note and having it couriered over immediately, right? But this is a couple of days later, the next day. And with Interact Post, it's taking you to this person's page. Now, again, we want to be authentic. You don't want to go in and be like, this is the best post ever. But one of the ways you can get kind of double value from this is now that you got that Chrome extension, you'll notice that it's got a lot of details here. If it's not somebody that you've got saved in Apollo, you could save it from here, pull contact information. If you're really good with Apollo and you set up some wonderful scoring, you'll notice it scores the person here, which is great, especially if you've got teams where you want to ramp new people quicker. But I want to interact with something here. But I also, when I'm looking for something I'm going to interact with or something about them, I like to open up the notes. You just go to activities right here. And anything you're looking at, you can pop in here. And that's going to help us when we're sending personalized emails or when we're making a call. So, for example, I like to look, do I have any mutual connections with this person? And, oh, look, I happen to have a couple mutual connections with this individual, Matt. It looks like 2 or 3 or around 600. So I'm going to put in mutual connection, Jay Lovelace, who I think he was the CEO over at Spins. I think he's at a different company now. And Chris Bogdan, who was one of the best salespeople I've ever had the chance to work with. And I can't remember where he's at right now. So I'm going to log that note. And then I'm going to scroll down to interact with the content here. I'm going to go look at the post. And again, even if I'm not interacting with something, if I see something that could be useful or relevant, I like to pop it in the notes. And so I'm scrolling through here and looking for something. I noticed that there's an interview here. I'll probably click it. I'm not going to force you to watch me reading this, but I did read that earlier, and that's really useful. I noticed that he does a lot of Happy Friday stuff. I'm really cheesy. You heard at the beginning of the webinar, I say Happy Tuesday, Happy Wednesday. I've been doing that for over 10 years on every cold call, webinar, or anything. So there's a few things I can use here, and I'm going to pop it into my notes and save that right here. Now that's going to carry over to Apollo whenever I'm interacting with or doing any activity on that person, right? And that's going to be really helpful. So I'm just going to like these Michael Jordan ones. I'm from Chicago, and maybe he went to the Michael Jordan basketball school and that it was around, because that was in Elmhurst where I grew up. So we just finished that task. Is this helpful? Are any of y'all building this out in your Apollo right now? Or anybody convinced, hey, I'm going to start doing that? I hope so. Okay, wonderful. A couple of yeses. This is good. Great. And then this last one is that, not the last one. The next one is email. So we want to do that email. Again, we copied over that template. We're going to go look at that masterclass when you have time later. But let me go do my email now. Now, I use the template from the kit. I've personalized it some more. But when I go to send this email, let me do it the way most people would. And I hit this email button right here. Remember, we use that broken link, right? So I can't send it if I wanted to. You notice when I go to hit schedule, it says message has unfilled dynamic variables. So I can't send it until I add that. So I'm going to personalize this based on what I learned from what I saved to my notes, as well as our shared 577 contacts. Hey, Matt, personalize, whatever it is. And now I can send that, or I could schedule it to go later. So we just got that email out. So we just sent our manual email. And again, the order might be different depending on how you're doing things. Now I would recommend, hey, I'm doing more tasks, and for me, I like to do them quicker over a week or two. You may say, hey, I'm mid-tier ones. I'm only going to do these things. On my low-tier ones, I'm going to do less. But I would at least start with one sequence where you're adding everything, just so you can get really comfortable. So we've got one more task, and that's going to be, where'd it go? I think I accidentally clicked it. Okay. Well, that was the action, right? The task. So let me bring us back to the, I was going to do a handwritten note. So let me get us back to slides where I've got some ideas on that. And here we go. So you're doing that with me. We're on the sales floor. You're doing that with me together. Now we're on that last step, the dealer's choice step. So I'm going to ask you, start integrating this with one tier of your leads, a video or a voice message, handwritten note, voice note. And we got another category here called gift or delight. That's just a way of, and I'll show you, there's a whole list of ways to do this. My boss, Josh, he did a previous webinar where he covered a lot of the ones he's used. I've been more into the video messages. So at first I was doing this on LinkedIn. A lot of people don't know this. I think it was like 2 years ago, they added it only to the mobile app. So you could actually record a video message and send it from the mobile app, but it wasn't on linkedin.com on your computer. So I was doing that. And now you can actually upload videos from your computer. You don't need to record an app and send it from there. Loom was really good. I did that when I was at a startup. I wanted to test it out. The nice thing about that is people could share it. It's a video recording and hosting site. People could put comments. The first time I sent it, people not only liked it and I got the meeting, but they were so delighted they sent it to somebody else in their company to start doing as well. Another idea I was doing, this is, and I'll try to write something on this, but I started buying custom domains. So I was using YouTube because I was wondering, how do I get a video message through and maintain my email deliverability? So I started using private unlisted YouTube videos for my video message, figuring, hey, that's YouTube, it's Google owned. Maybe this won't get blocked. And then I took it a step further where I started buying custom domains. Again, you're not going to want to do this with all your leads, but I started buying domains related to the company, like with an insurance company. I named it after their two mascots. And in my messaging, I sent them that link. It was relevant to them. It matched something that's important to their company. And when they went there, it was loading up my video message on YouTube. And that worked really, really well. Of course, you're spending $11.99 on GoDaddy to buy a domain. You're not going to do that with everything. But as far as I can tell on what people said, nobody had ever had a rep go out and do that for them before. And then, of course, text message. Here's the last time I did it. I look pretty lame here, but I was holding my phone and I sent a video message, never texted with this guy before. He didn't get back to me. I assumed it wasn't working. And then he ended up getting back to me and he was really excited to meet her. Really good guy, good meeting. So again, with LinkedIn, I brought this up. When you go into messaging on your mobile app, you'll see you can take a video or record directly from there. You can also upload from your PC. And that makes that really simple. Now, you can't do that in your connection request, and you can't do that in InMail, but you can do it after somebody accepts the connection request. So as opposed to pitch slapping, maybe you wait a little bit of time and send that video message and bring people back to your email, kind of like a voicemail, right? Nobody wants to watch a minute-long video, so you got to keep it quick. And then with handwritten notes, there's some good tips here. Be casual. You want to personalize, short and to the point, and include your phone number. So on most other things, you're referencing back to the email. On this, you want to include your phone number. It's going to be sitting there. Again, I sent a bunch of these, so I started getting a sense of what works or doesn't work. I saw some research from Microsoft one time, and they were talking about, I think it was Microsoft, they were talking about the odds of getting onto an executive desk increase with odd-shaped packaging or atypical envelopes. So I did test that out one time with regular letters, and then I did legal envelopes from FedEx, right? I assumed legal envelopes implies lawyers or something official or something important. That worked really well because people were, I think, afraid to open it before it got to the executive, assuming that it might be legal documentation. You really want to have a good message in there and something important. You don't want to be like, hey, I want to be your friend when you're pulling that though. But it worked really great at getting to the desk and having them open it. And those delight ideas, there's gift ideas here. Goodies, great for that. Postal, Zest. Now, the one I really like, this wasn't my idea, but this is actually my boss's, Josh, is commissioning an artist to draw a portrait of somebody on Fiverr. So you could take their LinkedIn picture, get the portrait done. I can't imagine anybody wouldn't be delighted about that. And of course, I just talked to somebody on the Apollo Sales Advisory Board, and he swears by his podcast. He doesn't use it just to invite people on just 100% to sell them right away, but he meets people that he might want to work with. He ends up learning a lot, networking, and he says it ends up driving more business than anything else. I've not done that personally. And then office hours is a unique idea. There's a lot of ways you can delight and differentiate, especially with those VIP leads. And again, we're going to have time for your questions. I just want to wrap this up with, I hope you're able to follow along with me right now while we're doing it. That'll feel really good to have this set up, and basically you'll be halfway towards trying some of these new things. We want to get you from, if right now you're just grabbing leads and sending automated emails, let's get you to where you're going to prosper, where the top 1% are, right? And in some way, and some of you may have, I was full, my first sales job, I was full cycle, and over time I moved away. And now we're seeing people that are moving back to full cycle. They're having more success, right? So it's not only going to get you more meetings, now more sales, but it's also going to make you more valuable for today as well as in the future. And if you want to speak to somebody on the Apollo sales team, some of the stuff I showed you today is only available if you're in the pro plan or the custom plan. It's the advanced sequencing, you got to have one of the plans. The dialer, if you want it built in, that's in the pro. So we're going to put up a poll. So if you want to talk to somebody on the Apollo team, you go to polls tab. I'm going to start looking at the Q&A here as we leave this up for a second. Man, lively chat today. You guys have a lot of great questions. I kept wanting to double back and answer them, but I timed this out 3 times and I knew I didn't have it. I didn't have enough space to get to all of them at the time. So I'm looking at these, and I'll take this down in just 1 second. We'll get to the questions. So somebody's asking about sending texting videos in Apollo directly. Kirk, we can't currently do that right now. And I don't think we integrate with sending text messages at all. I don't know if anybody does do that. But my guess is it would get you, like, I think one of the reasons that people aren't integrating that way is that it might get you in trouble when you're doing it for cold outbound. So again, when I'm texting the video, for me, I was always doing it with like my VIP, my executive leads, right? And in fact, I just saw data this week for everybody's nervous about cold emailing or cold calling executives. Nobody's more likely to open a cold email than the CEO. That was at 57%. I just saw that data. Candace was asking about signature with corporate branding. You know, I heard somebody in Apollo say this: you want to be information rich, not having a lot of pictures or links in there. That definitely affects deliverability. I went through this 2 years ago at one company where I got the signature I had to use. It's week 1. I'm sending myself an email from the new job to my personal Gmail. It was just a reminder about something, and it went directly to my spam. Nobody there knew they had a problem. The signature looked great. Their emails looked great. I couldn't even email my own Gmail without it going to spam, right? So if you haven't seen that email deliverability webinar from last month, definitely check that out. Nate was asking about Do you add a text message along with that personalized video, or do you send? I've tried it both ways. I found I had more success with just sending the video message. And I think it's a natural curiosity to see, who is this person? Why are they video messaging me? Obviously, you want to be, when you're sending somebody a video message cold, I leaned in on professionalism and being polite. And I wanted to come across like somebody that isn't a creep, right? So you saw in that picture, I was wearing a suit. I probably had a tie bar on and cufflinks too. But it worked really well for I think, any company where they've got a sales team, some of these things, the executives really like it, and they're probably try to hire you, right? That's happened to me a few times. What are the analytics that show these steps lead to 30% more meetings? Those numbers are covering the success of booking meetings. I was just using 100 leads as an example, but success at booking meetings from a random pool of leads, right, across all users. So the people most likely to book meetings, no matter what the pool size is, are the folks that were using sequences with all the steps. My personal opinion, I haven't got into the details of this data yet, but my guess is the people doing all those steps are booking a lot more, because if you look at the average number of touches it takes to get a connect now, I haven't seen anything less than 4. When you look at HubSpot, Salesforce, LinkedIn, everything is like 4.4 steps. I saw in one. I saw 10 with another company. I'm keeping like a running average of them, but it's a lot. And when I looked at my Uber data, I didn't close any deals without at least 5 follow-ups. So again, that might be different depending on what you're selling, but I actually think it's probably gotten worse since then.
Hey, James. Mind if I crash?
No, please come on in. Join the party.
Hey, everybody. Thanks everybody for staying. I'm Josh. I'm on the same team as James here at Apollo. I wanted to answer a couple questions that Goldcast. There's so many questions coming in. I can't get to all of them in time before the tool we use for webinars removes my ability to answer. So somebody's asking, James, when you're making a cold call, when people say, hey, can you send me an email with more information instead of booking a meeting with you? How do you handle that? And this is something that I used to coach a lot, so I wanted to answer it if that's okay. I normally, you never want to argue with somebody, right? Anytime, this is an objection, and anytime you're overcoming an objection, it's really important to recognize and restate the objection. So I'll normally say, I'm totally happy to send you more information. I want to make sure I get you what you need. What exactly are you hoping for me to answer? Like, I want to make sure I send you the right thing. And then they'll tell me, I'll be like, oh, that's easy. I don't even need to send you something for that. I'll answer the question and ask for the meeting again. And just so you know, you're not always going to win, right? That's not always going to work, but it does work sometimes. So that's something to try. That was for you, Gonzalo. So couple people, James, are asking about buying intent and how you incorporate that into a sequence. I'm curious what you've got for us there.
Yeah, and on that last one, I agree with Josh. You don't want to, and I think how you respond to that, when somebody's saying, "Could you send me something?" and they're huffing and puffing like they don't want to talk to you, right? So my backstop on that was always just to be like, "Hey, I'll shoot you a line and I'll try you at a different time." And when I shot him a line, I was just saying, "Hey, when's a better time to call?" And I'm going to call him again anyways, right? But I never wanted to send him some kit and spend all this time on it, because I just thought it deprecated what you're bringing to the table. With buying intent, there's 3 tiers. If you're using those, there's high, medium, and low. High, medium. The basics of it are that somebody's been looking for what you're putting in there as what you're selling in the last 2 weeks. Low is last 90 days. And the question was, how are you using that for sequences? So I personally, I just use medium and high. I would bundle them together. They're hot and heavy. They're looking. I want to get in touch with them ASAP. So I'm using a compressed sequence where I'm sending a line and I'm following up. I think the cold call there is extra important, because with the buying intent data, you don't necessarily know exactly who it is. And I just talked to somebody who said that they were telling me that they have a lot of the buying intent data is a black box. They said they don't care if it's accurate or not, because it was just boosting activity. People were calling up and saying, "Hey, I know somebody here is looking for this." And they were getting routed to somebody, the right person, who that individual thought would be the right person looking for this. So he wasn't sure if it was that they were actually looking to have intent, or that it was a good guess, or whatever it was. But he just said they were getting a lot of deals by doing a lot of cold call dial blocks on that. On the low one, I still want to get in there and have some intent, because that's probably a coach. That's probably somebody, an advocate, somebody who's trying to build a case. It'd be great to talk to them early when you could differentiate yourself and potentially create some leverage and help them sell it internally. It's hard to buy now for a lot of people, so you could be a great resource.
100% agree. I want to answer Harold's question. I tried to answer this before, Harold, but Harold's asking, can Apollo output a snail mail list triggered by an action item in a sequence? Then I can follow up with the mailed notes. So what Apollo will do, Harold, is when you create a task in the sequence to write somebody a note, Apollo will give you a task of all the people who have hit that point in your sequence. So you can go do that one at a time. But snail mail takes a while to land. So what I've always done is I'll go build my list. I export the list from Apollo. Then I send the snail mail before I do anything else, knowing that it's going to take 2, 3, 4, 5, however many days to land. I'll add those people to a sequence and have the first step of the sequence start in 2 or 3 days. Does that make sense? So you reach out to them, you send the mail, and then I'll call them or email them 2 or 3 days later, and I'll be like, hey, Harold, got something in the mail for you. Here's why I'm reaching out or whatever. So you try and time it well, but I hope that answered your question. You need to export the people from Apollo. You're not going to be able to export your tasks. You need to export the contacts, and I hope that helps. Okay. People are asking, James, can you make a default message on LinkedIn for a connection request? Like, can you add that into the sequence?
Yes, you can. So there's probably not time to get to it. That screen, when you get the recording, you'll see at that screen where you can put a message in and you can use the variables just like you're doing with automated emails. So you can actually have multiple ones in there and load it up from the template and just choose which one you want for that sequence. Again, I showed you with sending with no message, but you could put one in there, use those variables to customize it. And that works really good if you're doing a sequence for, let's say, one company, if it's enterprise, or if it's one type of buyer, one type of problem. So you can get a little bit specific and relevant in there. Then you can have that message going out and still seem like it's specific. You only have 300 characters, so it's really difficult to personalize too much unless you start using acronyms and short form and that sort of thing.
Yeah, my recommendation, and I got this from Samantha McKenna, who used to be the director of sales at LinkedIn. She said that LinkedIn's internal data was that the best connection request has no copy in it. It's just a blank connection request. That's actually the kind of connection request on LinkedIn that has the highest chance of getting a reply or a positive connect. Okay, so we've got time for a couple more questions. Rodolph is asking, what are the analytics that show these steps lead to 30% more meetings? It's a great question. So here's what we did. We looked at all of the people in Apollo in the last year who successfully booked a meeting. And then we looked at what was the composition of their sequences. And so basically what we're able to find is that if you, like, of all the people who created an automated email only sequence, which is by far the most people who use sequences do automated emails only. Only 46% of those people successfully booked a meeting. So more than half of the people who do an automated email only sequence it's not working at all, right? Now, within that group, there are people who are doing automated emails only who are really successful. But what we found is that 70% of the people who did what we showed in today's webinar, where you're doing an automated email, a LinkedIn touch, a call, a manual email, 70% of people booked a meeting. So you're more than twice as likely to book a meeting if you're adding these other step types than you are if you're just doing automated emails. So I hope that answers your question. That's for you, Rodolph. That's proprietary data to Apollo. We are going to release this as a report, as a guide, where you can actually see, more analysis of the data. But I got this data 2 weeks ago, and I sent James a message, and I said, "We're doing a webinar. We're doing a new webinar. We got to get this data out. We got to let people know about it." So I hope that's helpful. Danny's saying that they sent a broken variable to yourself, you put a broken variable in the email and sent to yourself. So when James showed it, James, you want to show it again? Because it may be where you're putting the broken variable. If you're putting the variable in the subject line, that might actually send. But if you put it in the body copy, it shouldn't send for you. And can you show that again, James? I want to make sure we're not leading people astray.
So this is it should be showing up in red on the preview screen when you put it in there. Anything within those double brackets. Now, if it didn't have the double brackets, like if I take one of those out, now it'll send, right? Because it's no longer a broken variable in the way that we use dynamic variables, right?
Oh, Danny says in the body copy. Okay, Danny, thanks for calling this out. We should, James, let's take this one and make sure that like when you add me, not just in the template, but when you try and email me this template, see if that works. I tested it, Danny, and it worked for me. But I'm sorry if I led you astray. That's not good at all. If it was for a test, it may have gone through, but yeah, try it. James, just try it for me. We've got 1 minute and 17 seconds left. Okay, so Danny is asking, a different Danny with a Y is asking, how many times a day, how much time a day or week do you spend building lead lists? Is it better to build your list on a day-to-day or take one day a week for list building? So I like to build my list in batches, right? So I'll come in like Monday or whatever day, I'll take 2 hours and I'll build my list for the week. And then I'll spend the rest of the week working my leads. That's how I like to do it. I know people who do it every 2 weeks, every month. I know some people do it every day. For me personally, finding leads every day is just probably not as efficient. Like I want to find the leads, and then on a daily basis, I want to be researching and reaching out to those leads. Okay, we're down to the wire here. We've got 30 seconds left. I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming. We're going to do more of these in the future. Let us know what you want to see. Find us on LinkedIn or email us. We're happy to do it. James, parting words?
Yeah, thanks for coming. I hope you guys were able to follow along today. If you have any questions, ping me on LinkedIn. You saw my account here today, and I've got that email for that last question up here. You want me to send it?
There you go.
So it shouldn't go out, but you can't. I do think you could send the test. So have a great day. Happy selling, everybody.